This is a long time in the making.
Okay.
But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Overcome by My Testimony. I'm a survivor. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and today I have a mental health awareness advocate, Shalawn Brown, what we affectionately call her Shai, and we're going to talk about her advocacy and her awareness of mental health and its importance of and her journey to get to that point in her life where she believed and knows and wants others to know and wants others to know that mental health is something that should be taken seriously. So Shai, thank you
Mm-hmm.
for doing this and agreeing to do this
Of
and being
course.
open to do this. So we're just going to start with the beginning. Tell us about little Shai.
Little Shy. Oh wow. That's hard to start. Well, so I grew up with I have four brothers. I'm the only girl out of four brothers on my mom's side. Um and I came to Poughkeepsie when I was about, I want to say 10, 11, from Florida, Orlando, Florida. And I came to live with my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. And I come from a product of two addict parents. And pretty much little Shy was confused, complicated, misunderstood, um, and didn't have a voice, pretty much, all the way until I became Big Shy, and now I do not shut up.
So why would you say little Shai was confused, misunderstood?
Because I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. I went through a lot, molestation, um, for years, by different family members. So that's why I say I was confused and misunderstood, because certain behaviors could predict something for somebody else that don't know, to somebody who does know why they're having those behaviors. So when I was younger, I fought a lot. I had behaviors of, they would say boy crazy, which I don't think I was boy crazy, but to the outside eye, they would say that I was flirtatious or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's why I say confused.
Okay. Do you think that misunderstanding that you felt came from your molestation and did you make an outcry and people didn't believe
I
you
It
or
definitely came from being violated. I did not speak about it for a long time for numerous reasons. I told someone that I was going to after school program, which was Salvation Army in Poughkeepsie, was after school program where all the kids went after school, and I was very very close to this woman named Joanne, and because I was going there, I was fighting all the time, and she pulled me in her office one day and asked me what's wrong with me, and she was the first person I ever told. And then after that, I told, my grandmother. My mom found out, and it was chaos after that. My mom, who was at the time, very involved in the streets or whatever, but she was one of the one person outside of Joanne who believed me.
okay. With the chaos that ensued with your speaking out, did that confuse you more?
Um, I
Because
don't
you felt like you started some chaos and some trouble.
I didn't feel that way. I felt like finally, like I felt a little bit of relief, but then it was hard to feel that relief because some people didn't believe me. But I felt relief that I had someone, which was an outlet in Joanne. I had to say, may she sleep with the angels, because she's transitioned now. But I called her my savior because, I didn't have to keep reiterating this story. I told her one time, she believed me, and then it was like we go from there. My mom, same thing. Also, had to say sleep in peace to my mom because she's transitioned. But told my mom one time, and she believed me. You know.
So did your the chaos in your own life, did the um, you being confused, you feeling misunderstood, did that stop after you made your outcry?
No, because at 16 years old, I went to my grandmother and I asked her to emancipate me because at that time I just wanted to be out of that house altogether. I just was tired and I felt like I needed to be on my own. So I went and I asked my grandmother to sign me off. It's for me to live on my own, which I've been on my own since.
Wow.
And she did that. And, that didn't help any situation because that is when I got involved heavy with the streets and making poor decisions in men. And just getting involved. I went to school, I graduated, had my daughter at 17. But like I said, my daughter's father was much older than me. That was where I experienced my first domestic violence relationship. Um, but then, yeah, it just made things just worse.
How did that change, or what did that do to your mental?
So at the time, because we weren't really aware of what mental health was, Um, I'm sure I was suffering from mental health, PTSD, depression when I was a little girl, but because we didn't know what mental health was, and because mental health wasn't spoken about in the Black community, I wasn't aware. I know I spent time in the hospital. I had at 22, I had a nervous breakdown and didn't know what it was. I just they call it crash out today in today's in 2025 it's called crash out.
Okay.
But I didn't know what it was, but I was thrown in this hospital, St. Francis Hospital, for 5 days, and then came home. Someone came to see me, talked to me, came home, and I was told what happens in this house stays in this house, and we are not talking about this, and you are not seeing a psychiatrist or a therapist, and that was it. So I was left to deal with all that stuff, whatever it was I was dealing with.
Why do you feel it's like that in our community? Like what goes on in this house, which I don't like, and that we shouldn't seek professional help.
Well, that I think that in the black community, because we are brought up with that mentality that if something happens in this house, you're not to go outside these doors and talk about it. I think that's because it's been embedded in us for so long. Also, because African Americans, even to this day, are still not comfortable um, with labels, or saying, I have a mental illness. We still don't want to talk about mental health to this day in our communities. And, if you grow up in a house that, Christian based, everybody believes you can pray away certain things. And I think that because that was generationally put on to our grandmother and my grandmother's grandmother, that, if something happens in this house and if you go through something, you deal with it within the family and that's it and that's all. And I think it was just carried on to generations.
But do we really deal with what's going on mentally within their family if we don't know
No,
how to?
we keep secrets.
Mhm.
It's secret based.
And what do you think holding secrets does?
It destroys the individuals holding the secrets. It destroys families. It destroys relationships in the families. It's not healthy to not be able to talk about something that happened to you or even by you. It's not healthy to hold all that stuff in, but that's what we do in the African culture. We hold secrets. I think today in today's society, it's more, people are willing to talk about, things more that happens to them or whatever. But when I grew up in the 70s, that was like unheard of to speak about things like that.
So when was the change in you to say that there's something wrong with me, or I need to look into getting my mind right? What was that change in you?
I never looked at myself and said that there was something wrong with me because I didn't know about mental health either. So, um, I never said, "Oh, I think there's something wrong with me." I went to prison when I was in my 30s, very late in my life, and um, went through a lot of things in there, also dealing with other women and their behaviors and their personalities and them going through some of the same stuff and seeing it. And, I went to this trauma based group when I was in Bedford, and all the women in there had suffered from trauma. And my counselor was like, "Oh, you need to go to this group." And I went into this group, and I seen all these women. They were talking about all this stuff, and I was like in shock. And I went for a month without speaking because I was just like, one, I don't know these women. Two, it was so private to me that I wasn't ready to share. But then these women were in there and they were sharing it. It was women that went through some of the same stuff that I went through, and they were comfortable with talking about it. And I personally didn't use that platform to say there's something wrong with me. Um, I didn't know that there was something wrong with me until I came home from prison, and my parole officer at the time directed me to go to a therapist, which I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
What's a therapist? What do they do? What do they do? So that's when I went, and I had this whole intake, and they asked me all these questions, and I was like, ooh, and I was answering all these questions, and after that questionnaire was done, I had all these diagnoses. But that's when I went through 7 therapists before I found my fit. Seven, because one, I didn't want any men. I didn't want a man therapist. I had two, and I just denied them off the rip. And then two, I had one therapist who was very young, and I was like, yeah, come on. She was like in 29 or something like that. And I was like, yeah, this is not going to work, sweetheart. So I denounced her. And then I just kept having these experiences where I couldn't find nobody. And then I had a therapist who was okay, but it took me a long time to open up to her or whatever. So she denounced me.
Mm. Oh,
so
wow.
um after that, I ended up going to this trauma based group, and well, parole made me go to this trauma based group, Golden Hill.
Mm.
And in that trauma based group, again, women were in there talking about all this stuff. And parole had me go to anger management group, which I got kicked out of because I was just like not comfortable, talking to strangers at that time. And so when I went and spoke to my therapist that I have now, who I've been with very long, that's when I was like, oh, what's PTSD? What's chronic depression? What's schizophrenia? What's bipolar? And I started learning and teaching myself about all these different diagnoses, ADHD and ADD, and teaching myself about different diagnoses. And being a product of two addict parents, I always wanted to understand the mind. Even when I was a little girl, like, why do people do the things they do? And because I wanted to understand the mind, that's what helped me go into the field that I went into. So I have to owe big credit to my parents, because they're the reason why I went into this field of helping.
So, do you think, or do you feel that, or did you feel before you were going to this mandated groups that you felt like you were by yourself, and then hearing these different women, other women talking about their experiences, and you saying the same, like, oh, I'm not by myself,
Yeah.
and that still didn't make you open up? Was
Mm-mm.
that a product of what goes on in this house stays in this house? Do you think that's where that came from? You not
Yeah,
wanting to
and
open up?
also trust. I had a lot of trust issues. I didn't know these people from a can of paint, and I didn't feel like just exploiting my business and my life to people I didn't know. I just came from prison where I had to, always have somebody watching my back 24/7. So I wasn't comfortable with just like sitting at a table and be like, oh yeah, this what happened to me, or this happened to me. So I always kept all of that in. But although in that trauma based group, I met some amazing women in that group. Um, and they were in the same group that I was. One of the women that I met, I'm sure she's not gonna mind, was Barbara McClinton. She was in the group. And I struggled a lot in the group because people were talking and stuff, and I was just like, I just felt like I should say I felt like this is not me
Yeah.
type of thing. Like this is not me. I don't have these issues. I don't have PTSD. I don't have none of these issues. Um, but I was one of the only African American women in the group, and Barbara is Puerto Rican, so we were the only brown women in the group. So how I looked at it and how she may have looked at it was different from how they were looking at it, because they were in the group saying, "Oh, I went to therapy this amount of times and this amount of times," and to me, I'm like, it didn't work. It ain't working. So we looked at it in different perspectives. I looked at it in a perspective from African culture, and they looked at it in a perspective of they were getting therapy when they were at 6 and 7 years old.
Wow.
So that was the difference. So I struggled. Um, and my pro officer was like, "Listen, girl, if you don't go and put all your effort into this group, I remember having that conversation. He's like, "I'm gonna violate you," and I was like, "Well, you probably gonna have to violate me then." So like it was that type of thing because I'm just not gonna go into a group where I know nothing about and just start talking. It's just not gonna happen. So I was like, "You probably gonna have to violate me." So her and I struggled a lot. So
So fast forward to you finding your path and getting into learning about the mind and talk about that path.
So that path came from when I came home from prison. So I always say I wasn't invited into Kingston, I was indicted into Kingston. Because I was like, I don't know nobody in Kingston or whatever. And when I first came home, um, I had a friend who was a part of this group, Rising Hope, and she had a mentor and they were helping her. And she's like, Shai, you should, go to this group and get involved. And I was like, yeah, I don't want no old white woman telling me what I need to be doing and not need to be doing. That's for you or whatever. And she's like, just try it. And I went and I met with one of the women from Judith from Rising Hope at we met at up there on Wall Street at a coffee house. And then she walks through and I'm like, oh God, here's this old white woman that I specifically said I don't want to talk to. But Judith came in, she was this beautiful person, and we sat down, we had a conversation. I told her my problems. I was homeless at the time. I had my son, I was fighting custody to get my son back at the time. So I was like all over the place. And I just had came from that situation that I didn't want to be told what to do or where to go and how to go because I already had a parole officer and I felt like I didn't want to have two. And I was just explaining all this to her, and she's like, "Let me hook you up with a mentor." And I was like, "I don't want no old white lady mentor. If you don't have a black person, I don't want it." She's like, "Oh no, you're gonna love her. Her name is Carla." And I was like, "Okay." I met Carla, fell in love with her, um, and she pretty much started talking to me about Shai, why don't you try to, give therapy a chance and, why don't you try to talk to them? Why don't you tell them, and, just see how it works out for you. And she was bringing me all these books about the mind and research and psychology and stuff like that. And I was just sitting and going through all this stuff. And then I went to her and was like, she's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go to school. And I was like, I don't know where to start, but this is what I want to do. And she walked me through that journey. And then I met my therapist now, Michelle. And like that just absolutely changed my life because she met me where I was at. Like, so the first month I just went in her office and we were just looking at each other and, I was just like, and twiddling my thumbs and stuff like that. And she met me where I was. She was like, Shai, it's your time. Whenever you're ready to talk to me, I'm here. I'm like, well, we probably be here for a year, but okay. Like that type of thing. But she just met me where I was. And eventually, she would ask me a question, and I would just start talking. And, as I'm talking to her and I'm sharing these things, I mean, I've been in rooms with therapists where I done threw stuff off their desk and walked out, slammed doors, and all type of stuff because of the anger I was holding in my heart. And I used to tell her I don't want Talk no more. Excuse me. When you curse on camera, sorry, sorry,
I
sorry,
can
sorry, sorry,
bleep it
sorry,
out.
church folks.
I can
But
bleep it out.
but I would be like, I don't want to talk anymore because it was so painful to me. And she was like pulling all this stuff out of me, and I was like, where's this stuff coming from? And I would say, I don't want to talk anymore, and she was like, okay, I'll see you next week, you know. And I'm like, I'm not coming back next week, that type of thing. But gradually, she just kept working with me. And as she's working with me and I'm talking about it and I'm getting involved in the community and I'm meeting people such as my baby over there, Sydney. I'm meeting different people and I'm doing TMI, which is too much information. I did that and girls are like coming up to me and they're like crying. They're telling me and I'm an inspiration. I remember this little girl at Bard College came up to me and she was like crying from hearing my story and hugging me and she's like, you're an inspiration. I told her, sweetheart, no, I'm not. Like, I don't want to be an inspiration. You know what I mean? I just want to be able to have a voice. And that started happening often where little girls were coming up to me and I was becoming inspirational to other women and other girls. And then that's what shifted the way I think because I do have to realize that everybody has a story, but everybody don't tell a story because of shame, embarrassment, judgment, you know, and because I've been in therapy so long, I don't even care about none of that stuff anymore at this point. Like if you judge me, because part of me not talking was feeling like people were going to judge me as well. Like I was big on I don't want to be judged, you know, but that's was because I was holding all that stuff in. So, you know, as I went through all of what I went through in therapy, it started lifting all these layers off of me and I started healing. And, you know, I got girls coming up to me all the time saying how I'm such an inspiration and they wish they, you know, was as bold to tell their stories. And pretty much, I always say it's not about me. I do what I do the work that I do. So that little girl that's within people can have that voice to tell her story to help somebody else. Because if I have to go through it, so she doesn't have to go through it, then I'll go through it. You know.
So what kind of work do you do?
So everything. I do everything. No,
What's your professional?
so my profession is I have a master's degree in social work.
When did you get that?
I got that last year, May 2024. I'm currently studying for my license because I want to open up my own private care duty so I can administer mental health to my people, which is African people. Not to say I'm going to segregate from anybody else, but I want to specialize in, you know, letting Africans know that it's okay to talk to someone, it's okay to share, and it's okay to heal. It's all right to talk about it. It's all right to share. It's all right to have conversations. It's all right to talk about mental health because all of us are walking around here with mental health. You know, it could be big, it could be small, it could be minor, but all of us have some form of shape of mental health. You know, and it's like how you want to deal with it. You know, do you want to continue to have that fester in your life? Or do you want to heal from it and continue to have, you know, walk into the life of peace and walk into the life of happiness? And that's what I wanted. I was in the dark for 30 something years. You know what I mean? 30 plus years I was in the dark, walking in the dark, literally. And when the light opened, I was like, whoa, you know, this is deep. You know, I want to stay here. That type of thing. Like, I want to stay here. And that's what I strive for peace and happiness, you know, and love. And then when I love hard and very hard and very protective. And I'm loyal, you know, and that's pretty much why I do what I do, you know.
How did you get to being, what is your title? What is your professional title?
I am right now, my professional title is social worker, but I do therapy.
How did you become a social worker? What was your path to social work?
My parents.
How did you, what your schooling and everything? How did you
So
get
I
to that?
started off in SUNY Ulster doing my associates, which was a 2 year, you know, 2 year degree. I got that degree. And after I got that degree, I was like, whoa, I got a freaking degree. And, and like, we just had this conversation with one of my friends, and she was like, oh, it's just associates. But when you don't see the dream, when you don't see it and you get it, you're just like, yo, did I really do that? And when I got my associates, I felt like, oh, I got to get something else. I want to get something else. Like, I wanted to set an example for my kids, and I wanted to set an example for my family, because for so long I was in this darkness where I was told, like, oh, she's in the streets, she ain't gonna amount to nothing, she's gonna do this, she's gonna do that. And I wanted to pretty much start it off to prove people wrong. That's how it started. Like, okay, I'm gonna get this and prove these people wrong who said I ain't gonna amount to nothing, right? And so after I got that, I transferred to SUNY New Paltz. And I struggled in school. I have to put that out there. Like, school was not easy for me. Not saying grade mental wise, because I maintained a 4.0 average my whole time from associates to my master's. So it wasn't about the education. It was about the struggle. And one, I was African American. I went to SUNY Ulster. I never was around that many, Caucasian people in my life, and to try to fit in was hard for me. They used to say I was real pro black. Um, so I struggled in that school. I was targeted in that school, like that I was a problem, and I would incite riots. This is what they were saying, but so I struggled, but I made it through. And then I went to New Paltz, where it was more diverse, and I was able to see like some of my face in there, even though like I still was having problems with certain professors in that school because I was very outspoken. You couldn't shut me up. If I felt like, they were saying something, and granted, I was the oldest student. I was already in my 40s, so I was like, wait a minute, I've been living in this world. It don't happen like that out there, right? So I would challenge a lot of my professors. Never was really like, oh, let me just look in the book and believe everything. So if I didn't believe it, I was gonna challenge it, and that's what that's what I did a lot, which caused a lot of friction between myself and some of my professors, because some of my professors were my age, and then I was sitting in classes with people 18, 17, 19, and I was there, was no games. And then they over there playing around. So I would get into it with the, like, shut the hell up. Like, I'm trying to learn. Plus, I'm paying for this. So somebody gonna be quiet in here so I can learn. You know what I'm saying? And it was a difference. And then after I got my bachelor's degree, which we went smack into COVID, so I didn't get a chance to walk. So I didn't think that I had a bachelor's degree because I never walked. So I broke this cap and gown, and it's just still sitting in the closet. And I didn't go to the Zoom graduation or toast or anything like that. I was like, so I didn't feel like I had my bachelor's at the time, and it came in the mail. And I swear, I soaked at that bachelor's for about a whole hour, like reading my name, reading, I went to New Plus for sociology, and reading cum laude, and I was just like, oh my God, is this really me? Am I really doing this? And then after that, I knew I wanted to further. I just didn't know how I was going to do that financially, because what I got in my bachelor's program, I wasn't going to get in my master's program, which was the financial structure, because you got to pay for everything now in your master's program. So I was like, oh, I guess I ain't going to go to get my master's. And then I was sitting up one day and I was just talking, and I was like, I'm going to go get my master's. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get this money. And my mind started going back to the streets. Like, I can go hustle and get that money. You know what I mean? So those were the battles that I was having personally in my mind. Like, I can go get this money. It's going to be easy. You know what I mean? But then I was different. I was a different person. And then, so my angel would be like, no, we ain't doing that. But the devil would be like, Shai, you got this, So, so I would have those conversations where I would battle with myself. And I came up with like all kind of hustles. Like, I started selling drinks. Don't be shy drinks.
Oh, that's cute.
Nutcrackers, which was like is juice mixed milk mixed with alcohol. Started selling them to try to pay for school. Um, I um, I networked in the community financially. I had people in the community contribute to my schooling, which is amazing. A friend, someone put a GoFundMe out for me. Yeah, loans, but I was able to complete my 2 years at U Albany, SUNY Albany, and I got my master's degree in there. And it's so crazy that I still don't think that. Sometimes I have to look at it on the wall for me to be like, oh, I got it, because in my mind, I just feel like regular, like, you know what I mean? But like, there's not a lot of master degree graduates in my family. And so for me, like when I'm around my family, I'm just regular. I feel regular. I don't feel like I've accomplished what I've accomplished. So it's like I have to look at it on the wall to say, like, Shai, you actually did this, because I was one of the ones that was counted out, you know. And when I look at it, I feel like a sense of like pride or whatever, because I did do that, and I didn't think that I would ever do that. Um, but I did. So I'm happy about that.
Why sociology? How did you choose to focus on sociology and not psychology or um, psychiatrist or yeah?
Because psychiatry, it's more of prescribing.
Okay.
It's more of sitting with people. Oh, you had an episode. Okay, let's prescribe you some Zoloft to help you out. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want to be that type of person. Um, Sociology is because I like to be on the ground. I want to be able to touch people physically. I don't want to be sitting behind a desk just writing prescriptions. Here, go take this to CVS and go get your medication. You know what I mean? I want to be the person that I'm going to sit on the ground with you. I'm going to have this conversation. I'm going to hug you. I'm going to be right there. That's the type of person I want to be. And if I have to do it through therapy, and like, because when you're a therapist, people are like, don't get so personal. Don't get so don't hug them. Don't get so personal. I would never be that type of person. I'm probably gonna break a lot of rules in my profession, because I would never be the type of person where I see a young man or a young woman that is in need of a hug, because some people have never had that feeling, and I'm sitting there and be like, oh, I'm a therapist, I can't hug this client. No, that would never be me. I would give that person a hug. I would give I would give a dog a hug. Like, affection is big. I didn't get that when I was coming up. I didn't get the love and affection that I need. But I give it, so that's why.
What is your proudest career moment?
Therapy. That's working with kids is my proudest. Like, I just love my kids. If someone comes to you and says, Shy, it's because of you that I'm feeling better. Or it's because of you that my mom is able to have groceries tonight. It just does something for you. You know what I mean? It's just, if I want to be able to see my work, and if I'm helping one person, then I'm doing my job. I want to be able to help people get through some of the things that we go through in life. I'm not a superhero. I can't be the one that just do the work. We both have to do the work together. But if I see someone come up to me and they're hugging me and they're loving on me, then I know I'm doing my job. And that's pretty much what it's all about for me. It's not about money. You're not gonna get rich in this career at all. I'm gonna be broke forever. You're not gonna get rich in this career. It's not about the money. It's not about me. It's about what you do to help other people. So I always say that I'm blessed. I might not have everything I want, but I'm still blessed. And when I'm blessed, I don't do nothing but bless others. And that's just what it is, you know.
Is there anything that you want to say that my questions haven't prompted you to say? Anything you want to share? Any advice you want to share?
Whatever it is that you believe in, whatever it is that your higher power has for you, no man can touch nor take. And I strive on that. I have had doors shut in my face so many times, but then I just kicked in some other ones, you know what I mean? And that's what you have to do. Don't ever let nobody count you out and tell you, oh, you can't amount to this, or you can't be this, or you can't do this, or because I'm standing here as a living witness. I have survived, I have survived domestic violence. I have survived molestation. I have survived rape. I have survived. I have survived the world that said that I wasn't going to be anything. I have survived prison. I am not a victim. I am a survivor. And I want people to understand that you can come from a victim to a survivor. And it all depends on you and what you want in life. A lot of times people don't want to take accountability for some of the stuff, but I wanted to take accountability for some of the roles that I played. Yeah, I grew up crazy, and my parents, I don't know what it feels like to have parents and sit at a dinner table with your mom and your pop and have that family structure. I don't know what that feels like, but I can't allow that to keep being the reason why I'm stagnated. Like, I can't keep blaming my parents being addicts for why I went to prison. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I made choices that landed me in that situation. And people have to start taking accountability for their lives and how they want their lives to turn out and how they want their lives to be. You can't keep holding on what happened to you when you were a child. You have to be able to heal from that so you can be able to grow up and be productive and strive for happiness and peace. And that's the most important part in the world. Don't hold on to that stuff. Let that stuff go, heal from it, and continue to strive and move on and help people. The most important thing is helping someone else that is whether less fortunate than you, that has less than you. Help someone, even if you have to sit down and give somebody 5 minutes of your time and tell them that it's going to be all right. You just never know. My grandma used to always tell me, be careful how you treat people because you never know when you're entertaining an angel, right? Mm-hmm. And I used to be like, what does that mean? Like, I have no clue, Mom, what to my grandma, I don't know what that means. But I didn't know what it means then, but I know what it means now. So it means treat people how you want to be treated. You never know. You could be mean to a person and then pass out in front of that person. That person has to be the person that minister. You CPR to save your life. So that's what it means by you never know when you entertain an angel. And I don't look at anybody and judge anybody for anything. I treat everybody. I love on everybody the same. If I go down Broadway right now and give a homeless person some water, I'm gonna hug them like I was hugging her. And that's what's missing in this world is love, affection, and taking care of your brother and your sister, and not looking at it as I'm better than, or that's not me, or I can never be in that position. I've been in that position, so I understand like what it feels like I'm no better than that homeless man that's on the corner, begging for change, or I'm no better than that person. They're still human beings just like we are, and things that I've developed these behaviors that I never thought that I would have. Like, I keep dog and cat food in my car because when I see strays, I'm like, here you go, you're gonna eat today. You know what I mean? So it's just like that's a habit I never had, you know. And I've developed that and I'm happy about it. I keep water in my car. So when I see a homeless man or a homeless woman, I come out and give them water. Or sometimes I might just go buy food and just hand. I don't have a lot. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a lot. But I give people, I will give you the last. I've taken clothes off my own back and giving it to people. If someone, oh, that's nice, girl, here, because I have plentiful. I have to other people it might not be like I got a lot, but to me I had plentiful because when I was sitting in the jail I had two uniforms, 4 pair of panties, 3 pair of socks. Now I got 80 pair of shoes that I probably don't even touch. I have plenty, and it ain't just for me. It's for if I see someone that needs a coat. I have no problem taking my coat off, giving it to that person. I have no problem going into the thrift store buying this coat for $3 to give to somebody else because that's what it's about. We got to help people, and know that you're no better than nobody else. You just put on this. I'm put on this. I have a purpose here. I know I got a purpose because God saved me from so many things. God saved me from death. God saved me from all the things I mentioned. So there's a purpose that I'm here. I'm 50. I don't look 50, but I am.
What does 50 look like?
I don't know, but people say that all the time. You don't look 50. I'm 50. I'm healthy. I'm sound mind, body, and soul. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm crazy. I can be crazy, of course. But for the most part, I mean crazy in life. Like I just love to, have a good time. I love to be with people that I love. And, I'm probably going to be the life of that party. And that's just pretty much what it's all about. And being an example for somebody else. Because you never know when people are watching you or looking up to you. And how you carry yourself is how you want to conduct yourself because somebody might be watching you. You feel what I'm saying? Like Sydney's like she's like my heart. And I have to be careful how I act because I know she watches me. I know she looks up to me. I know I'm an inspiration to her, but she has no clue how much she's an inspiration to me. How much she's an inspiration to me. And the crazy part is like there's Sydneys that's walking around Kingston that I have no clue about, and they'll see me like we're close, but there's a girl out there just like her that looks up to me and I see them and they're like, Shai, oh my God, I love you so much that I have no clue about. But because they watch you, they watch your pages, they watch your social media, they watch you how you conduct yourself with other people, just never be scared to have a voice and never be scared to speak your mind. It doesn't matter if you're talking to the president. Be able to say to the president how you feel, and that like never shut up, my type of thing, and never be able to, don't be scared to put yourself out there and let a person know how you feel. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be anybody in this world, but you have to let people know how you feel. The best thing for me is God, like putting this breath in me and me opening my mouth, and now I'm like not ever shutting up. That's the best feeling for me because for so long I was like this, and now I'm able to be like this. And by the way, yeah, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? And that's what people need to understand. Do not be afraid to lose because whatever it is God got for you, you're going to get that. So you don't have to settle. You don't have to be that person at your job. Like I was the only African American therapist at CSS. And I have people that work there to this day that tell me, Shai, you came in here and changed the way we look at things. Because for a long time, if you're not sitting at the table and then you're sitting at the table, people have character traits that if you don't bring them aware of their character traits, they're not going to change their character traits because they have them already, right? But if you sitting at the table and you like, hold up, now I'm at the table. I know you're not used to having an African American woman at the table, but now I'm here. Now you have to change the language. Then you make people think. You make people open their eyes and, open their opinion about certain things, about certain people, about certain cultures. You know what I mean? So never be afraid to speak your mind, and never be afraid to lose, because you might lose something. You know, people like, why didn't you take that job? That was like 65,000 a year. Why didn't you take that job? And I'm like, are you kidding me? 65,000 a year. By the time taxes come out, do the math. That's 53,000 a year. That's, for a master's degree, that's not enough. And I know that that's not the fit for me. So I'm not going to just jump on anything, just to jump on it because it's the financial gain of it all. I'm going to do a job where I can help people and get the fulfillment out of seeing me helping people. Whether they pay me 15 million or 5,000, it's not about that for me. It's about seeing people like Nick smile, and seeing people like Sydney smile, and seeing people like Ashton smile, and the people that I love. That's what it's about, seeing them happy and seeing them prosper and seeing them smile. That's what I do this for.
Well, I thank you for doing this, Shai.
Of course.
And remember, guys, take care of your mental health. It's very important.
Very.
If you feel like there's something going on, go get it checked out. If you need to like woosah and go take a break, do so. Because your body will tell you. And if you don't listen to your body will break down on you.
Yeah, go get help. Like the don't be ashamed to, if I can tell my people anything, do not be ashamed to go get help. Do not be ashamed to go heal. The most important thing is healing. Do not be ashamed to, because we have all these avenues that we can pull from that we didn't have when I was growing up. You can pull from so many avenues now. You can see a therapist, you can see a mentor, you can have a counselor, you can have a case manager, you can have a social worker, you can have all these things. Use them. Use them. Like, go get help. If you need help, if you feel you need help, if you feel you need therapy, if you feel you need a psychiatrist, if you feel that your mental health is becoming to the point where it's taking over your life, please, I urge you to go get help. I've been in therapy. A therapist that needs a therapist. I say that line all the time because when you have so many people dishing their stuff on you, you got to have someone to dish your stuff on, And I see my therapist every Wednesday, faithfully at 11. Do not miss. I do not miss. That's my juice for the week. I'm not ashamed. I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of the work she's done with me. She's a part. I give her credit for my healing. I give her credit for me being able to talk to other people to tell them that it's okay. It's okay, because suicide is on the rise, and we have to take that serious. And we're living in a world right now where a lot of people are going to have to be able to take care of themselves, because things are happening that we're just like, whoa, even though we're used to it and everybody else crashes out, because we used to struggle. We ain't like, you take something from us, like you've been to that. So we're used to it. Other people are not used to it. But then with us, we become even more aggressive, more angry, and we start attacking each other. So if you need that help, please go get that help and get it with pride. I promise you it's going to change your life.
You heard the professional, y'all. Listen to her.
It's going to change life.
Well, I thank you for watching this episode of Overcome by My Testimony. I am a survivor. Shai is a survivor. And tune in for the next episode.
Yeah, deuces.